Soon assembly lines were up and running in Ford's factory. The lines became the key to mass production, a system that would remain virtually unchanged for most of the century. A network of clanging conveyors was used to deliver parts to an exact point on the line. The workers became an integral part of the great machine, and management set the pace, without discussion or negotiation, for unions were forbidden. The men faced new pressure as the final assembly line beat out the rhythm for the whole factory. There was no way they could stop or slow it down. Few stood the pace and din for long. Men tried it for a few weeks, then quit. But Ford had an answer. The company was making record profits. The time taken to build each car had dropped to 1.5 hours, so he could afford to raise pay. Other car makers adopted the Ford method. Ford's recipe, mass production, low costs, high wages, was creating not only cheap cars, but well-paid workers. By the mid-1920s, Ford had built the largest factory in the world. At the River Rouge plant, coal, iron, sand, and rubber were delivered at one end, and 2,500 Model Ts a day streamed out the other. Up to 80,000 men worked there. Above all, it was the constant supply of new men arriving in Detroit that made it possible. The company set the terms. If they worked fast and obeyed orders, they got the wages. It was a game for which Ford made the rules simple but strict. High pay for hard work. Ford's private security force, the Plant Protection Service, kept discipline. Anyone who recruited for the unions was fired. Company spies kept a lookout for those considered to be troublemakers. Workers on the Rouge lines had never had job security. Now those lucky enough still to have jobs became increasingly powerless. Conditions became so bad at the Rouge that workers began listening to recruiters, urging them to join something most of them had never even heard of, a union. But in a city already devastated by unemployment, union organizers found recruiting difficult. Then, early in 1932, the Rouge shut down completely, triggering an event that would change everything.
Out of many meetings and many discussions, it was decided that they would have a hunger march on Ford to let Ford know that he'd promised us $5 a day and he'd close the plant without any explanation whatsoever. They marched through Detroit. In fact, gave us police escort all the way to the Dearborn boundary. And when we got there, we were told that we could not march any farther.
When we got to this corner here, Miller and Dix, the fireworks started. Hoses started to pour ice water on top of us, and it was a cordon of police right across Miller Road proper, acting as a barricade. Right in this spot in here, piles of coal, and some of the people got on top of the piles of coal, and they threw the coals back at the police and at the company people on the other side of the fence. The march went on towards Gate 3, and that's where men were shot. Instead of getting jobs, we got lead, we got bullets, blood.
Four demonstrators were shot dead by police outside the Ford plant. The Miller Road Martyrs, as they were called, helped draw public attention to the auto workers' case. Washington backed them as well, after the Democrats regained power in 1933. Roosevelt's New Deal gave workers the legal right to have collective bargaining, and in 1937, the Auto Workers Union felt strong enough to take on the car companies. After a brief strike, the union was finally recognized by General Motors and Chrysler. Jim Sullivan's demonstration was one of many as UAW recruiters stepped up their efforts. But it would take 3 more years before the union felt strong enough to stage a confrontation at Ford. In 1941, in the urgent atmosphere of World War, the showdown came. The world's largest automobile plant ground to a halt. After the strike, the union had a legal contract with the company. Changes to the speed of the line and work practices were to be jointly negotiated. The Ford contract soon became a model for the rest of American industry.